It looks great on you, brother. I'm just going to mute your video if that's possible because it's super distracting.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You're listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Make sure you continue to like, comment, subscribe to Hello and Welcome on YouTube. We are going live after most games now, and it's been a really good experience. It's been great to sort of get your questions in, and the best way to watch it live and to get it the quickest as well. I know a lot of people like to get the React Pod in before going to sleep. The best way is to just hit subscribe on YouTube, and that way you'll literally get it live. Like, you don't have to wait for the audio to process, you don't have to wait for the video to go up. It's just there for you pretty much within like 2 to 3 minutes after the game ends. So we'll certainly be looking to do more of those this season and continue to play with that format. But it's been really great to start the year, and it's been really great to see preseason. That's the theme of today's episode with co-host Alex Wong, who I know has been diligently taking in preseason Raptors action. And I just wanted to share with him 8 takeaways from Raptors preseason. What's going on, my brother?
Yeah, what's going on, man? Season is finally starting this week. The Raptors are going to open on Wednesday against Cleveland. Yeah, I'm super excited to get the season started, and I feel like we're going to chat a little bit about these preseason takeaways that you have coming into the season. So, yeah, let's get to it, man. I want to hear these.
Yeah, we're just not gonna acknowledge right off the top that I'm wearing a Rush Hour 2 visor.
Yeah, so for people watching the video,
Another reason to watch.
I blessed Will with a Rush Hour 2 visor this weekend, and he is wearing it very proudly. I told him I would gift it to him if it fit him, and it did fit him perfectly. So yeah, it looks great on you, brother. I'm just gonna mute your video if that's possible because it's super distracting. I'm just here to talk hoops like Zach Harper, my brother.
There you go. Yeah, I appreciate you. I told you this would have been good as a birthday gift as well, but just a random gift outside of the dance. Where were we at? The dance battle? Like, what was it officially called?
Yeah, we were at the Red Bull Dance Your Style competition at Access
final
Club
for Canada,
where we hosted the Bobby Webster event last season. So shouts to Ash, Jared, Ryan, Sal, Brandy, the whole Red Bull crew that was there. Always super fun. Jerome was with us as well, friend of the program, Elaine. And yeah, it was just 16 dancers competing. The DJ would play, what would you say, like a variety of music.
Certainly a variety.
Yeah, a huge variety of music. My favorite was Joe Budden, Pump It Up. And yeah, it was just super fun watching the different dance styles. The crowd was super into it. Red Bull always puts on the best events, and I'm glad we all got to go.
No, it was actually really cool, man. I know we have a special interview coming out for you next week. We'll just tease that here.
This
subject. I guess this week. You're right, because it is Monday now. Happy Monday, everyone. Hopefully you're enjoying your commute to work.
Just kidding. if you're watching all week, we've got James Herbert joining us on Wednesday. I've decided to wear the same clothes throughout the week.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, Banter Pod is coming up on Friday. If you hear this, still time to just email me, info@StevenLeBron. We're taking questions. So, yeah, hit us up. So we're excited about this week. But let's do it, bro. Raptors.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll talk about dance battles and special guests later on, because the most important thing here is preseason. So I got 8 takeaways from Raptors preseason. Let's start with the first one. And I think anyone who has watched the Raptors this preseason can certainly agree that there is much more of an emphasis put on the defensive end. I think that you could quibble with the competition. Obviously, the Raptors playing Washington twice. Or the fact that they lost to the Celtics when they rested most of their guys. Although, to be fair, they beat the Celtics when the Celtics actually brought most of their guys back in. And then also the last game was against Brooklyn. But I think defensive intensity is something that Darko has sort of stressed with this group, going back as early as the end of the season, as early as Summer League, going into Media Day, and then going into preseason. I really wanted to see what that would look like. And I think there's a team-wide effort. I think their pickup points are a lot higher. Guys are getting picked up, especially point guards are picking up even above half court. They're kind of pressuring most of the court. But I think even other guys like Grady's trying to do a better job of pressing up. Scottie certainly has, been one who turns it on, the Raptors' most impressive player, especially defensively. And that's difficult to do in a context where the Raptors actually had a lot of good defensive performances in preseason from like individual players. So yeah, I think there's just like an overall, I guess, like emphasis put on defense, and I don't know for you, Alex. Like, I don't know how much this is going to excite you necessarily, but from doing the Raptor show with me last year that like I just hated how much the Raptors did not put in effort defensively or just look completely lost defensively so many games.
Yeah, I mean, the Raptors lost their identity a little bit, right? Like, you can make excuses about the roster being turned over last season. There wasn't really time for cohesion. But what we came to know about the Raptors when they were playing really well, especially in the championship and post-championship seasons under Nick Nurse, was that they were always a great defensive team. Like, even when sometimes the basketball wasn't so fun to watch, but there were great individual defenders on that team. And I think it's just thinking about what this roster can get to from a defensive ceiling standpoint. And I know we're going to talk about Jamal Shead later. I think having Jamal Shead, Davion Mitchell coming off the bench. But the key is, I think a lot of this conversation, even these takeaways we're going to do today, everything is just going to go back to Scottie. Like, Scottie can set the tone on defense for this team. There's going to be questions about how good the defense can be with the starting five. And going back to Summer League, like Darko was telling us that defense has to be the emphasis. Kirtika was on the show earlier in preseason telling us the disgusting defensive stats from last year. So it's
last in defense post trade deadline.
Yeah.
Was, I think the stat. Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate, one of the guys who made one of the biggest defensive plays in preseason, Brandon Carlson, is no longer with the squad. But
Carlson blocks.
RJ, kidding me? So yeah, no, I like this. I like this as a way of seeing if the Raptors can build a bit of a identity on the defensive end this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that it'll make games a lot more enjoyable to watch. I also think that they picked up defensively oriented players who, just by virtue of their energy, like a guy like Jamal Shead, who again, I certainly will have more on him later, but when you sort of see that kind of energy, when you see Davion Mitchell's energy, like it just kind of sets the tone. Like the rest of the team kind of has to follow. Now, of course, those guys are bench players, and you want to see from your starters too. But I think Scottie did a really good job defending. I think the first game he was a little rusty, as you can understand. Big life changes happening, but like, yeah, I mean, once he really locked in the second game against Boston, the game in Brooklyn especially, I thought he was awesome defensively, and he just kind of like he really raises the level for all those guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch them actually defend this year. I think the ones that I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing that continue to is IQ and RJ. I think those are the two pieces in the starting lineup where if they take more defensive responsibility on for their own assignments, that would really, really help. Because I think Jakob has always been really solid. Scottie's always been a phenomenal help defender. Those things, they will have help if they need it, but I want them to also be, able to take on their own assignments and do a great job defensively. But you know what, Raptors, there's only up to you could only go up from here based on what happened last season defensively and also overall. So that's my number one takeaway. Number two, actually, the one thing too I will say is I've been watching like other preseason basketball, and coaches are trying out different things. You know what I mean? Like there's a game against Boston, for example, the first possession they trapped Davion Mitchell in the backcourt with two guys, like first possession. Joe Mazzulla, you are a sicko, but I noticed with the Raptors, they didn't play zone or anything else even once. You know what I mean? Like there was no mixed coverages. It was just straight be good, man to man, guard your assignments. And I like that in a way from Darko because like obviously I'd like the flexibility of being able to play in a zone. Obviously watching Nick Nurse and what he did in the championship year was really fun. But I also feel like, especially for a younger group, we got to work from the basics. Like those guys, like I know Kyle and Kawhi and Marcus Gasol, Danny Green, those guys are going to guard, no problem. But for the younger group, it's about like taking that personal responsibility on, and I like seeing that. So no gimmick zones, no like let's back it up with like some weird like traps or something like that. It was just like straight guard your man as best as possible. I love that point of emphasis. Number two, I think Scottie is really being set up to thrive and succeed right now, and I think it's interesting because I was talking with Samson about this on the last reaction podcast where we went live after the Brooklyn game. But it feels like Scottie doesn't have to worry about things outside of his role anymore, right? There's not like, oh, like he's not like a utility player in the way that he was used a lot in his first and second years, where it was like, we don't have someone to guard the point tonight, Scottie, you're gonna have to do it. Or like, we don't have a center tonight, Scottie, you're gonna have to do it. Or like, you know what, today we really need you to be a help defender. Like it's like today, right now, it feels like they got him better on-ball defenders on the point. And especially with Jakob back in the mix, he doesn't have to play five, especially with Kelly now in the mix. He gets to just sort of play his role. And I think it kind of like conserves his energy in a way because it's not like he's taking plays off defensively, but it clarifies him to be able to just remain in that help position, do a great job there. Obviously, be able to switch when he needs to. Very switchable. But then also, I think it's really propelled them offensively in terms of like just not having to waste and expend energy doing the harder things that, quite frankly, most star players don't need to be doing for their team. So, what do you think of like the way the Raptors have built, especially year one now, around Scottie explicitly?
Yeah, for me, looking at the first 3 seasons of Scottie's career, like he's had to do a lot of adjusting to what the roster is because he was
Mhm.
coming into a roster with guys like Fred, OG, Pascal in their roles. And by clearing out those players, whether people agree or not, like they have now made this Scottie's team. And now I think the dynamic has shifted in terms of like you mentioned, let's put Scottie in a position to succeed and let's build the roster out in a way that will fit him. And I think just, watching him and, have had a chance to like spend some time with him before the
Oh,
start of the
Wanch.
season, Wanch,
Wanch.
and even just talking to people, coaches and front office as well, the general consensus is that there's just a more seriousness to him this
Mhm.
season. I think he understands after getting the extension this summer, after the roster turnover, that this is his team now, and now there's a
Mhm.
responsibility to go out and improve on your rookie of the year, on your all-star appearance. Like, what is the next step? And the next step is that the team has now trusted you to be the number one guy, put you in this position, and I think he's taking this very seriously, and he's got the support of the team, whether it's from a leadership standpoint, having even guys like Garrett Temple in the locker room to help him. I can't even name a second vet. I guess Bruce Brown.
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly, Chris Boucher, the forgotten vet. And yeah, I think I'm super excited about what Scottie is going to be this season. And in a way, we're going to be watching Scottie in this role for the first time here in Toronto. Like, it's going to be a very different role than I think he's played in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time the team is like firmly set up around him. Now, of course, we just having said that doesn't necessarily mean it's optimally set up around him. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's to be seen whether or not like IQ is the perfect fit for him as the point guard or RJ is the perfect fit for him as like the other wing in the backcourt. And you might want to play with like a more spacing five than Kelly, for example, or than Jakob, for example. But nevertheless, I do think that like this is the first time where it's actually been oriented. He's like prioritized to the highest degree. And now it's like it's time for him to deliver on that promise as well. And I think that like we saw lots of games where that was working. Like I like the fact that him and Gradey had such great chemistry. Like the most exhilarating moments of preseason, if you can call it that, was the first quarter against Boston where they had like 41 points and they were up 41-20, I believe. But it was like him and Gradey just like showing you a glimpse of the future and how much they played off of each other. So I'm excited to see that. And I'm also excited to see what you're cooking up around Scottie Barnes and have a larger conversation around this when the time is appropriate. But right now, we're going to move to our third takeaway from preseason. And for me, it's just Gradey Dick playing unafraid. All right. So
Mhm.
what I mean by this is so watching Gradey in preseason, if there was anybody who was close to a first option, or a second option, it would have been Gradey Dick. Like, I think the first game, obviously RJ was really impactful and involved until he got injured. He was awesome. But Gradey was right there as the second guy. Then I thought Gradey was really heavily prioritized in the 2 games against Boston, right? I think he led the team in shots for like 3 straight games for the Raptors. And I think what's notable about that is last season, what we saw out of Gradey was mostly him being a corner 3-point specialist, right? He had like a really good percentages out of the corner, and primarily the damage he did was out the corners. He actually wasn't that good of a 3-point shooter in terms of just the percentages from anywhere outside of the corners. He wasn't particularly good at getting to the mid range. He didn't do that a lot. He didn't get to the rim that much. Um, what I liked about his preseason right now is that so he took 35 threes in preseason. He went 12 of 35, which whatever, that's fine, right? Only 5 of those attempts were from the corners. So that means that 30 out of those 35 were from the top of the floor, where I felt like he was playing in a more aggressive way. Like if you're going to play in the corner, quite frankly, I never seen an aggressive scorer out of the corner. You know what I mean? Like there's only a limit to how much like a PJ Tucker can do along that baseline. You know what I mean? Like so he's actually playing at the top of the floor a lot more. And if you look at the other shots he took 13 shots in the mid range, and he was very aggressively looking for those. And he also took 23 shots in the paint, in which he finished like an okay amount, 12 of 23, like whatever, it's a small sample. What that tells me is he's learning to find different ways to be involved. Again, if you're only going to play out the corner, you're only going to get like fourth at best, maybe fifth option type of looks. What you saw from Gradey, especially you go back and look at a lot of the film, he's done a really good job of attacking off of two dribbles. Like if you go back and watch all these mid-range attempts, if you watch a lot of the rim attempts he's made, he takes two hard dribbles and he makes a decision. He's decisive. He's getting to his spots. And I think that like for him overall long term, this is a way better development for him in terms of just his ability to play. Like it's a difference between like a Danny Green, for example, which obviously Danny's had lots of great moments. He nearly won Finals MVP that time. But like he mostly camps out in the corner, and that means you're mostly going to be a fifth option, right? Versus a guy who's more dynamic, a guy who can be involved in more opportunities. And listen, like again, like all due respect to Danny Green, like that's a 3-time champion, right? And like a guy who started on all 3 of those championship teams. But I think for Gradey, like to be a more dynamic offensive player, he needed to learn and expand out of that corner, and he's done so far. He's shown that, and I'm very interested to see sort of how his game continues to play. But I think to me, that was actually a clear standout to me was just how Gradey attacked and operated this preseason.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what Grady's going to be in year 2. It just seems like just watching glimpses of him in preseason, like you mentioned that Celtics game as well, the game just feels like slower to him. It feels like the decision-making from his end is quicker. When he's getting the ball, it feels like he knows exactly what to do. And, the Raptors have, talked so much since drafting him, like, to not stereotype him into just, like you mentioned, just a spot-up shooter. And
no,
I think
you can't put Dick in a box, man.
No, you can't put Dick in a box. And, about to break some news here, Wonge alert. So, the Raptors every season has a super fun Halloween party, usually at Casa Loma. You guys have a 10-year deal with them or what's going on? And why is it always Casa Loma? It's a good spot for it, though. Gradey Dick was spotted recently at a local Spirit Halloween, and I believe he will be going as a giant dill pickle to the team's Halloween party this season. So we need to start. Yeah, what's up?
Wonge.
Yeah.
That party already happened.
What? It already happened? Oh my God! I got scooped again! I got scooped! Oh no. Anyways, we should start calling him the Big Pickle. I think that should be the new nickname.
Yo, I kind of like that.
We have driven the Gradey Dick jokes into the ground, and I think it's time to shift a little bit. So, Jerome also suggests Grady Pickle. Yeah, Grady Pick! Grady Picks! Yeah, when he gets a steal. That's my contribution to Grady. What is your fourth takeaway?
My fourth takeaway, and again, like I'm just really excited that Grady's, again, just becoming more dynamic. My fourth takeaway is Ochai is actually finding a way to contribute. So I thought last season when Ochai came here, bit of a wallflower in a way, like you felt like he wasn't really noticeable. Now the flip side, he wasn't trying to demand the ball. He wasn't trying to take over, but it also felt like he just couldn't. And it was strange because the Raptors did pivot obviously towards a rebuild. And typically when you do that, you want to acquire picks. And the Raptors did acquire picks. Like that's the only thing they really got back from the Pascal Siakam trade was a bunch of picks. One of them included was the pick that I believe was 29th, ended up going to Utah. And the Raptors decided to flip that pick away. Now, from the Raptors' position, it felt like the more picks you have, the more chances you get to sort of grab players in that range, you want to go ahead and do it. But at the same time, the Raptors also knew in the back of their minds, like, you know what, we have the 31st pick anyway, because they made the OG trade first. That got them Detroit's second-round pick, which obviously, after losing 28 games in a row, I think they were pretty clearly going to be the 31st pick. So they knew that they had another pick in that range. And I think, too, they knew that they actually wanted to go ahead and grab a guy like Kelly Olynyk, who was going to be a happy veteran who would come here, come home, and be able to play. Granted, you could have probably just signed him with the mid-level exception, but at the same time, I think that by trading for him and re-signing him, you actually maintain your mid-level exception, in which case there is an additional optionality there now because you can apparently trade mid-level exception space or something under new CBA. Whatever.
Thanks,
At least
thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Bobby Marks.
I tried my best, man. Sorry, man. I got to shave my head after this, but
I swear to God, by the end of this week, if you have a shaved head and Jerome's blonde, like I'm calling HR, bro. We need to call a team meeting, man. Holy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think, yeah. I mean, the other part is I think Masai really wanted to get Ochai. And I know that Masai has known Ochai for a long time. I've talked to Masai about this. I talked to Ochai about this. Like, basically, Masai has actually known Ochai's dad for a while.
Yeah, they're in a group chat. First president of the team to make trades via WhatsApp, man.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Regardless, let's just say he's got more inside information on Ochai than most other GMs. And he's really believed in him. There's even throwaway moments, I think last year at the end of the year press conference, where he said, look, Ochai can be an elite defender. Like, you guys going to see it, right? Because I think he was sensing that none of us was really like understanding why they went ahead and burned a first round pick for Ochai. And I think at Summer League, it wasn't encouraging because he was coming in with the stated goal of improving and changing his offensive game. And then he had a lot of really quiet offensive moments. But I think you're seeing that now where he looks way more noticeable and effective around the paint than we've seen him previously. Now, the paint thing is whatever because, this is a small sample, but he did shoot 16 of 20 around the rim in preseason. Most of the baskets you saw from Ochai were one of two things. One was him just sprinting out in transition, being the leak out guy, and then, being aggressive, actually using athleticism to finish in transition. Dare I say it was a little Norman Powell-esque in terms of like a shorter guard who's probably around 6'4". Him and Norman were roughly the same height, but with longer arms and good athlete and being able to sort of like take into the chest of defenders and try to finish over the top of them. We saw a lot more of that with Ochai. Now, of course, there's a mountain's worth of like catch up he has to do to get to Norman Powell's level offensively, but in transition, it reminded me a little bit of Norm. And then I think the other thing is he started screening for the ball a lot. Now, this was a lot with Kelly Olynyk when Kelly was healthy. Unfortunately, Kelly left preseason and he hasn't really played in a week here because of a back issue. But then that coincided with Scottie coming into the lineup, and obviously Ochai starting and Scottie starting. Ochai did a lot of screening for Scottie as well. And I think that him cutting out of these moments, and then the third shot type is him just like cutting along the baseline and finding opportunities. But he just got into the paint over and over again and was able to use his athleticism. And I think that like the 3-point shot's still not there for him. Right. He was, I think, 1 of 5 from the top, 1 of 4 from the left corner, 1 of 7 from the right corner. So obviously way below average you would want to see from all those positions. But like he actually is finding a way to sort of involve himself in a way that like there's a big difference between like a guy who just doesn't have a game versus like an actually effective 4th or 5th option. And I think that that's the goal. And it's not a big leap, but at the same time, I think he's actually understanding his role in this offense. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Ochai is not a guy we even talked about last year because, you dipped the Raptors show. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Ochai?
No, I think Ochai is going to get every opportunity to succeed, especially early in the season. You talk about some of these injuries; he's going to be in the rotation, and yeah, no, I'm willing to kind of see how this develops. The Raptors really need somebody like Ochai and some of these other guys on the team to just kick their ceiling up a little bit. And yeah, you mentioned his cutting. The 45 cut, the face cut. The baseline cut. This guy got more cuts than Purnell, man. It's crazy.
Yo, King's Landing.
Deep cut. No, but I'm excited about Ochai, and I'm excited about this next guy that you want to talk about as well.
So by now, you've already heard the news that Coors Light, as part of the Raptors' 30th anniversary, has these very specially branded cans. They look beautiful. Look at these things, man. Look at these.
They're
beautiful,
covering
beautiful cans.
Each era from the first 30 years of the Raptors, and you can get them now at select LCBO stores, participating bars and restaurants across the GTA, and also at Scotiabank Arena. But one more thing, Will, make sure to check out ERAineveryCan.com, ERA in everycan.com to check out these limited edition cans. And fans can go on the website and enter for a chance to win exclusive Coors Light Raptors prizes. I heard there's some really cool merch collabs and other things happening as well.
So. No, I'm actually, you know what? You actually did tell me what those collabs are going to be. And I got to say, like, I'm really, really excited. I know Coors Light is a partner that we've worked with in the past as well, but this is just beautiful. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I want to drink these cans, man. You got like the OG, you got like the championship season, and then you got like whatever's in between. I guess the Chris Bosh can. I'll probably drink the Chris Bosh can if it.
Yeah, I mean, one to rock, one to stock, and also for Raptors fans, like make sure you keep an eye out. Follow Coors Light on social because they're gonna pop up around the city as well.
Oh, word!
I'm hearing they might be at Rogers Center. They might be outside Scotiabank Arena. They
Okay.
might be at Nathan Phillips Square for more prize giveaways. So make sure you check that out. Remember, you must be 19 plus and celebrate responsibly.
I'm gonna be there. I can't wait to celebrate.
Yeah, I've never in my life thought that you would ever say 45 cut, but I'm actually really happy that because you know what, you got a little 45 cut on yourself, buddy. Okay, guy number 5 or the 5th takeaway from Raptors preseason is Jamal Shead is a guy. That's all I really put as the headline here.
That's what she said.
Oh goodness, yeah, Jamal Shead is a geyser. Okay, what I mean by that is like with so many rookies, they come in and they look confused, they look a little out of place, they look a little timid. You usually don't even know what you have until like at least a year, sometimes even 2 years. Like Ochai, for example, like even though he played, he was a rotation player for Utah the last couple of years. You still didn't fully really like know what he kind of does. Like you had an idea, but like he just didn't really make that big loud impression. And of course, that ultimately led to him getting traded. Um, Jamal Shead, right away as a rookie in preseason, has defined clearly what he is all about. And number one, especially for my like what I like about basketball, what really stands out to me, it's like guys who are really get after it defensively. I've been preconditioned to watch it because you know we've had Kyle, we've had Fred, like these type of point guards who like just create havoc and disruption on the ball, and they change the game with that aspect. That's what Jamal Shead has above everything else, right? And I actually went back. This is how much of a sicko I am. On a Saturday morning, I sat down, I was preparing for these 2 episodes, and I actually went, you know what? I'm going to go watch the turnovers for every opponent of the Raptors in these 5 games. So that was roughly about like 100 turnovers in that range. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and count how many were directly caused by Jamal Shead. And my total was 15 in terms of just turnovers forced by one player who mostly came off, actually entirely came off the bench for the Raptors. In 77 minutes played in preseason, Jamal Shead forced 15 turnovers. There were 9 steals by my count, and a variety of ways too. Whether that's him helping, whether that's him guarding on the ball, whether that's him just stripping a guy, whatever. 9 steals. He ate 4 moving screens. He ate a push-off call with Bub Carrington. He was just hounding Bub in their first ever matchup in Montreal. And then he also ate a charge against Ben Simmons in the last game in Brooklyn. That's ridiculous. That's by far the most turnovers any player has forced in preseason for the Raptors. That's a team's worth of turnovers in just like 77 minutes played by a backup guard. And I think that like in terms of making your impression, making the league, he's made it in terms of he got drafted, but you're not really made it until you make your second contract. Jamal Shead is already a player that like I will want to see in a Raptors uniform for a very long time. He defines this ethos that we've become so familiar with Raptors point guards. And I'm just like utterly in love with the way he plays defense, man. This guy gets after it. Like there was a stretch in the last game against Brooklyn where it was 30 seconds left in the first quarter. He was guarding a cutter who came to set a screen for the ball. And then he ate a moving screen on that play. Raptors scored. Next possession down, Brooklyn's like winding up the clock, trying to take the last shot in the quarter. He eats another moving screen. Then the second quarter starts. The Raptors try to play through Emmanuel quickly. He actually made a bad pass. He turned it over. So 2-on-1 fast break with Ben Simmons going to the basket. Jamal Shead sprints back and takes a charge on him. 3 straight stops against the Brooklyn Nets. Tell me who can do that by themselves, man? No, seriously, I love Jamal Shead, man.
Yeah, man. The eating is crazy.
No, I mean, I'm all the way in.
Yeah, no, me too. I think, when we were in Vegas, like in between dipping my toes at Stadium Swim at Circa, when we were at Summer League,
yes,
like Jamal Shead was the guy who stood out right away because you could just feel the intensity when he checked in, and he just has such a great presence on the defensive end. And that's why, like, super early on when I was just watching him in Summer League, he really reminded me of what, like, Jalen Suggs, like, brings to Orlando. Like, I think when you're on the court, the energy just ratchets up just because he's there. Like, you can't help but just be a better defensive team knowing all the things that you mentioned that he's doing. And the other rookies, there are other rookies on this team that maybe have higher upside, you could argue long term. But for right now, like, Jamal is the one rookie that I think is going to contribute right away. And he's definitely going to become a fan favorite right away. And every winning team needs a guy like Jamal Shead. Yeah. And we've talked about how the Raptors just need some couple of like development wins. And if Jamal can be a rotation player, a guy that you can plug in off the bench, maybe even closing games eventually, guarding some guys on the court. This will be a huge win for the Raptors. So I'm super excited about this.
Yo, your man DT cooked with this one, man.
Yeah. Shouts to all the DTs. Next up, you've got some thoughts on the other rookies.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Really quickly, just on Jamal Shead,
Yeah.
on the offensive end, he's obviously more limited offensively. So, number one thing is I thought he got to the paint quite a bit. He certainly has an ability and he understands when to cut. He took 16 shots in the paint, for example, compared to 17 shots elsewhere from mid-range from three. That's actually a really, really good indicator to me. So he, as a guy who's only 6'1", he's able to get looks in the paint, and he actually finished them at a decent degree. He's had a two-handed dunk at one point. Not saying this guy's like Russell Westbrook or prime John Wall or something, but like still, he has an ability to like know when to cut. I was gonna say too, he's got a little bit of a driving bank shot, which he kind of uses sort of like, because just as a point guard, you still need to create a shot, you still need to run a pick and roll, you still need to sort of present a scoring option. He has that. And then the biggest thing is just the three is not there. And I was watching his three really slowly. I was kind of like, like really looking at it. He kind of shoots the ball flow forward, like he flicks the ball forward at the rim rather than pushing up on the shot. So what that results in is a lot more inconsistency because you're always aiming when you're flicking forward. And then also you are creating a flatter shot because you're literally shooting forward rather than shooting upwards on the jumper. And I know like I'm not some sort of like shot doctor. I'm not going to try to pretend to be that, but it's very, very noticeable. And I think that that's the number one correction that they got to do with him with the 3-point shot. But as soon as he gets that, like honestly, I would, yeah, he's in the rotation for me like already. But if he gets that three down, he's definitely like he might be my sixth man at this point, man. But anyway, takeaway number 6, as you mentioned, the rookies just aren't ready. The other ones, Jacoby Walter, 19th pick for the Raptors this year, has not played. I don't think he's going to get minutes over Gradey or Ochai at this point. Those guys are so much sharper than him. But I'm looking forward to see how he develops. He did get shots up and stuff. His arm was no longer in a sling the last time I went to practice, which was like earlier last week. So promising sign that he's not going to miss too much time. Mobo, we saw a lot of him. He certainly was not an effective finisher, was an effective 3-point shooter. Just looked kind of hesitant at times. He's got some skills with the ball handling, and he's got like he defended well on the perimeter. I guess he got a couple of strips. He was disruptive, but certainly not a guy that I don't think that like the Raptors can play right away. Which I was optimistic that he can get in the rotation very early, but I don't think that's the case. Brandon Carlson already gone. Unfortunately, it's tough. And then Ora Shamshe, like the note I have here is Ora Shamshe is more raw than if John Cena was eating sashimi on a Monday night.
Oh my God. You know what? At first, when I heard that, I was like, that's wild, but I see the levels to this.
Yeah.
I see the raw reference, the Monday night. You know what? I can't even look at you right now wearing that damn rush hour visor, but that's a good one. Were you feeling yourself after coming up with that one?
Bronsolino.
This guy's dying to get another shout out from Action Bronson, man. It's crazy.
I gotta tweet this, man.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, no, Chomche, I think some of us would agree that like if you zoom out like 3-4 years, maybe you would bet the highest on him. Like out of all these rookies that the Raptors have drafted, you can see all the raw skills there. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Jacoby, just because he's getting he's not getting a start with the team with the injury, probably going to spend a lot of time, even at 905, just ramping up. Yeah. And maybe that's the majority of his season. I agree with you about Jonathan Mobo. I think there's going to be a lot of development there. So, yeah, I think, we knew this was going to happen, though, when they like drafted this like grab bag of rookies, that a lot of this was going to be long-term development. I think fans should be optimistic already, just knowing what we talked about with Jamal Shead, that there's already a rookie that looks like he's going to make a contribution right away.
Yeah, and like, let's be honest, it's not like the Raptors took 1, 2, 3, 4 in the draft. They took 19th, they took 31st, 45, and 57. Right?
So worst fantasy draft ever.
Yo, like, was there no snake format in this draft? But like, at the same time, I think the Raptors very, very much needed to get 3 hits out of this draft. At minimum 2, but 3 hits into this draft, and I think it's possible. I really do think it's possible. I see the vision with Mobo. I think he certainly needs a lot more clarifying with that vision. And I think with Jacoby, like the team is super high on him. So like we just haven't seen enough of him. I actually think that like once Bruce Brown, his situation is resolved, I think that's probably the path towards the second half of the season. You see more Jacoby, but yeah, man, rookies aren't really doing much. My point number 7 is just injuries already piling up. RJ Barrett didn't make the trip to Brooklyn, but he only played 1 game before he ran his shoulder into JV's moving screen. but at the same time, he looks super sharp. He looks physically ready. Even watching him in Montreal, he was like going shot for shot with Gradey on a lot of shooting drills, which is really impressive to me. So I think that like once RJ's back in the mix there, he's going to be ready to go. I just don't know if he's going to be ready for the home opener, but we will see in a couple of days. Kelly Olynyk hurt his back somehow. I didn't even see what play that happened, but he is 34. So that could just potentially seize up. I don't know. When you were 34, did your back hurt? Like,
yeah, it hurts every day.
Oh,
so, yeah,
Gotcha.
can't wait till you're 40 so you understand what I go through day to day.
Yo, you know when I'm 40, you're gonna be like
Yo, stop saying that.
You're gonna be like 48,
This is when Matt Devlin's like, you're halfway to 80, man. Oh man, and I was like, my therapist is on mat leave.
Yeah,
yeah. So
AKA
Kelly
Matt
is
leave.
DMP old, and
yeah,
a lot of other injuries too, man.
IQ only got one game in. He was a little rusty, but at the same time, I think he was still quite effective. We'll see. I want to see IQ develop more chemistry with someone other than RJ, but I guess Jakob. He's got chemistry with two guys. I would love for that to expand and to Gradey expand to Scottie as well. Chris Boucher, unfortunately, was playing really well in preseason in terms of the productivity. Obviously, still some like notable mistakes and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I thought he played better. Shot the three at a really high level. He went knee on knee, try to go across the screen. And so we'll see if he's ready. Chris is always typically pretty healthy, though, as a player. So I do hope he's ready. But it would suck because it looked like he was finally going to get back into that rotation. If he was battling Jonathan Mobile for minutes, he's certainly done more to earn that in preseason. And then Jacoby, yeah, like I mentioned, he hasn't played yet. So injuries already starting to pile up. It's not as bad as Phillies. Have you seen Phillies injury
well, I know
recently?
Paul George is out too, right? And didn't Tyrese Maxey get an injury too?
Yeah, Maxey hurt his thumb. I think Jalen Suggs like pulled on it or something.
Yeah, Joel Embiid is only available Monday, Wednesdays, and every other Sunday, based on his new work schedule.
Yeah, Embiid's out. Who else got injured recently? Oh, Jared McCain. Like he somehow bruised his heart. He had he bruised his heart. It was actually a really scary fall. He like collided with somebody and like he literally had to be taken to hospital or something. Like, he bruised his heart. So
you know, good old Nick Nurse. It's time for that two-headed monster of Kyle Lowry and Jeff Down Jr. Man.
Oh man,
it's time, baby. 30th anniversary.
Don't doubt
no, I think with injuries, one of the things I think everyone wants to see this year is just an extended run with Scottie, IQ, and RJ, like at the top of the list. So, hopefully the RJ injury is not too severe, and IQ is just getting back as well. We just weren't able to see a lot of that last year after the trade with the Knicks. So yeah, hoping this clears up and we just get like an extended, like even 20, 30 game stretch of seeing how this team looks like when they're fully together.
Yeah, that's the thing. We haven't actually even seen the starting five come together yet. So that will have to sort of wait for home opener or potentially first or second week of the season. And then lastly, number 8, this is just like a bigger trend, but they're actually watchable again.
Watchable alert.
Oh man, my big takeaway is you could actually watch the Raptors.
Nick Nurse listening to these be like, man, how far have you guys fallen?
Yeah, I don't want to hear from Nick Nurse, man. Yeah, go ahead and do another jam session. But like, yeah, with the Raptors last season, like they genuinely weren't watchable towards the end of the last season. Like I know they were tanking and everything like that, but like there were season ticket holders who were like basically giving away tickets for free because nobody was trying to come see Raptors lose by 40 to the Pelicans, Raptors lose by 50 to Minnesota, Raptors lose every single game, every single first quarter, losing at Brooklyn, like just nasty sort of stuff. And whatever, like that's part of it. Like obviously you're gonna have to transition. Like, guess what? As a Raptors season ticket holder, I can't feel that bad for you because like you also got to profit off your tickets for like a decade, right? So like you're still doing okay, but there was still like a lot of lumps last season. This isn't like Jordan Wara. This isn't like Malik Williams. This isn't like Javon Freeman Liberty. This isn't Jamias Ramsey. Like, do you actually have guys that you can watch and be invested in? Now, of course, like that's not a guaranteed of success. Like, I don't think anyone's still promising like above 500 for this team. Like that will be one of the craziest. Like honestly, if Darko got this team above 500, he should win Coach of the Year, right? But like this team's actually watchable again. Starting with the fact that, like I said, they're playing defense. They got young guys that you can actually try to invest in and be fans of and buy into sort of their progress as players rather than just like random assorted guys here to fill out the roster. They played Garrett Temple at center last year. That's elder abuse, man. Like, no, I'm not even kidding. They actually played him at center. So I think for me, like this team's actually just watchable again. They actually got like a decent number of players. And I just don't think they're like straight tanking right away. I really don't think so. Like I think they're actually going to try to give it a shot. And if it really collapses, they got a bunch of injuries, they'll pivot and they'll happily do it. You already saw Masai go out to Rutgers to watch Dylan Harper, to watch like Ace Bailey. But like, yeah, I mean, I think I think the Raptors, at least at the start of it, are actually trying to be competitive for sure.
Sure, and I think there's a lot of more clarity coming into this season, even with the team embracing about talking about rebuilding. It seems like a thing that they've resisted in the last few years, like still trying to compete to win. I think the clarity is going to be good for the fans. And like you mentioned, there's just, I do think, I don't know what the level of excitement is. I know people like listening to this podcast, like, who follow the Raptors day to day are always going to be excited and find reasons. But I do feel like for the general fan, they might be kind of, maybe tapping out until the team is good again. But that's on the team. That's on the team to give fans a reason to be excited about. Like the last 3-4 years have been really disappointing. So, and it's, I think it's a good indicator too of like, Darko or Masai, all these people, like when they talk about this season, nobody's talking about number of wins. Nobody is talking about the win total. You hear the common buzzwords of just like trying to grow, trying to develop and stuff. And it's just about whether the fans can find the joy in that. And I think there is joy in seeing a young team grow and develop. There is joy in seeing what Scottie can be as a number one guy and some of these other guys that we talked about. So, yeah, that was the promo for the Raptors' 30th anniversary season.
Get excited, man.
Watchable.
They're watchable. No, seriously, there was literally half of the year last year that was not watchable. Even the start of the year wasn't that watchable, man. That was crazy. We broke Detroit's 28-game losing streak.
You know what? That was a pretty entertaining game. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure, you're right. Actually,
that was probably a top 5 game. But yeah, those are the takeaways.
Kevin Knox cooked us like that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We want to take this break in the podcast to let you know that we are partnering with Tangerine for this season. For people who aren't familiar, Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors and its fans, and Tangerine is a foundational partner of NBA Canada and WNBA Canada. Tangerine is focused on growing the game of basketball in the country from the grassroots level all the way up to the pros, and where you will find a court, you will likely find Tangerine. And that's the mission that really resonated with us, because we also share the same goal of growing the game of basketball here in Canada. What you need to know about Tangerine is that they are about forward banking. That means no unfair fees, no overly complicated products, no expensive brick and mortar branches. And if you want to learn more about Tangerine, go to tangerine.ca.
So yeah, those were 8 takeaways from preseason. We're excited for the season to get started. And tomorrow, the Boston Celtics are going to raise another championship banner. I know you're super excited about that. They're going to be hosting the New York Knicks. And so they're 5.5 favorites, the Boston Celtics, at home tomorrow. And I actually really like them to cover that spread at plus 100. Make sure you hit the QR code below on Betway. I was doing a little bit of research, and the last 3 championship defense nights. So last year, the Nuggets played the Lakers, beat them by 12. The year before, the Warriors played the Lakers, beat them by 14. So Lakers just getting spanked on every ring night. And then 3 years ago, the Bucks won by 23 over the Brooklyn Nets. I think there's always great energy on that opening night. And we've talked so much about the Celtics in preseason, their continuity. I still believe the Knicks are a work in progress. They're going to have to figure things out. And so I really like Boston minus 5.5 to cover that spread on opening night.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Knicks have a lot to figure out. They're incorporating 2 huge pieces into their group here in Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns. And I feel like a very, very unfortunate test is to have to face Boston right away. Boston is very healthy outside of Porzingis. They're very healthy. Their bench is quite good. We've seen them play against the Raptors bench, or the Raptors starters. So yeah, I like this, man. I'll back the Celtics, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like that. And just to remind everybody, I know that we've been talking a lot about Greta on King West. We are working towards finalizing a live event on November 12th. So make sure you come check it out. Greta is the place to come hang out, pre-game, during the game, after the game. And I know, Will, you're always a big proponent of during the season, making sure that we make space to hang out with our listeners, get to know them a little better, and continue to build the community. And I think Greta is going to be the perfect place for us to do that this season.
Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, this is something that's really important to us. Not only to have the community and we interact with people online, but also to actually get together, a place that we can actually watch and experience things together. It's like a super fun part of sports. And of course, if games go poorly, we can like pivot and start playing Mario Kart and Pop a Shot and skee ball, like throw the ball at the clown.
J.E. skee ball.
Oh man, no, it's obviously a really convenient location at King West as well. So I'm actually really excited to go. I'm always excited to meet our fans and just to hang out in general. Like it's not like a ego thing. It's just nice to physically hang out with people rather than being online all the time.
No, for sure. And November 12th is a Tuesday. So, November 12th is a Tuesday. Make sure you save the day for that. We'll have more details soon. The Raptors are actually playing the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee at 8 p.m. So we're going to get to see Gary Trent Jr. show up without a shirt on. Maybe Thanasis will be on the bench. So, yeah, come watch the game with us.
Yep.
Come hang out. And then we're going to do a live post-game show after as well. It'll be super fun. Make sure you check out Greta. And before we wrap up, just want to let people know that over the weekend, people in the Raptor space very familiar with designer and artist Casey Bannerman. He's done some super cool custom Raptors jerseys, Olympics jerseys, WNBA jerseys, Toronto Blue Jays jerseys. Basically, if there's an idea, he's going to do it. I remember a few years ago when Matt Devlin and friend of the program, Enes Esmer, came up with the Spice and Dice, and it appeared on the broadcast. He made this super cool Spice and Dice poster with Pascal and Fred. So on kzbannerman.com right now is a limited edition Paul Wanto basketball jersey, which is designed specifically for your dogs. And the jersey blends the Toronto iconic throwback jersey with Scottie's signature number. I know Scottie's posted on social media before of some of these dog jerseys that I know Casey has designed for Scottie, so he's supporting this great cause as well. Portion of the proceeds from these jerseys are going to be donated to the Toronto Humane Society. So yeah, make sure you check out CaseyBannerman.com. This is a great gift for your dog. I'm sure your dog, is aware enough to appreciate it, or maybe just a gift for someone with pets. So this is super cool.
A little Halloween costume,
Yeah, a little Halloween.
What's your
costume.
dog going as? Oh man, he going as one of the dogs on the Raptors.
RJ kidding me?
oh man,
we need to get customs.
We should do dog
man.
puns for these Raptors.
Yeah, I mean, the other question, we can save this for another episode, is like, how many dogs do the Raptors have?
Poodle.
No, man, no. All right. I think that's a good spot to wrap up. We've got other episodes this week, and again, make sure you subscribe to Hello and Welcome Pod. Obviously, the content is ramping up. You're finally going to get react pods to real games, not these fake games that the Raptors have been playing. So super excited about that.
No, man, I thought the last community note you were going to put out there is just you can send in questions to info@StephenLeBron.com because we're doing our banter pod this week. So you can send us emails.
That's right. So we're doing the banter pod later this week. So sending questions, non-basketball questions would be preferred because we are talking a lot of basketball already. So yeah, appreciate everybody, man. Super excited for the season to get going, man.
Really excited. Can't wait to see the Boston Celtics raise a banner. Yuck. And we will be back pretty much every day with you guys. So thanks for listening. This has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway.